Hello and welcome to our final, I can't believe it, our last one, episode of The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and info. I'm Michelle Gal.
And I'm Shayira Arias.
I'm Nicholas Garcia.
And I'm Evan Boydston. On today's episode, we'll be discussing, you guessed it, more Donald Trump.
Also, we'll be bringing you an update on the devastating Oakland warehouse fire.
Plus, we'll be bringing you an update on the Dakota Access Pipeline.
All this and more on today's episode of The Report.
Before we delve into our first hot topic, we'd like to invite you to be a part of the discussion this semester season. Click on the link in the caption of any of our report episodes to fill out a secure Google form with your opinion on any controversial issue that we've talked about now or in the past, as many of these issues are reoccurring and evolving, ranging from gun control to abortion, climate change, or the state of politics right now. All we ask is to please keep it civil, and as with any essay, cite your sources.
President-elect Donald Trump is named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. The cover features the subtitle, President of the Divided States of America. Times editor Nancy Gibbs stated, quote, "I don't think that we have ever seen one person operating in such an unconventional way have an impact on the events of the year," end quote. His naming is the result of his both positive and negative influences that have impacted events throughout the year. Other people winning this title include Mahatma Gandhi and Adolf Hitler. Gibbs also stated that Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton was the first runner-up. Since the beginning of his campaign trail, Trump was given a 0% chance of winning. He broke the rules and violated norms throughout the way that as an individual created completely controlled chaos. And he successfully defeated not one but two political parties in his victory of the United States presidency. Now the president-elect just has days until his inauguration and is selecting a cabinet that has ties with big business corporations. So does Trump's title of Person of the Year teeter more for the better or for the worse?
Well, I think it doesn't tear to either one. I think it's just what the title says. It's Person of the Year, who had the most influence, whether if it's for worse or for better. Like you just mentioned, they even had Adolf Hitler at one point, so we wouldn't be able to say for the better at that point. Right. So I think that it's definitely because of who he has become and who he is today.
I agree. I think that's the interesting aspect of Time's position when they choose Person of the Year. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the greatest person or they're the worst person. But one thing that I liked was that their subtitle was Divided States of America. Mm-hmm. It's so true. Mm-hmm. I'm not shocked that they selected Donald Trump as the Person of the Year because it just proves this election, especially the 2016 election, how divided we are, how racism and other issues still lie in America, you know?
Well, and that's not necessarily an attack specifically on Trump, too. It's just looking at our nation right now, which is very divided, and it's just showing that it really is. And that's just the quote of what of America is right now. And also with, I thought it was interesting for the four covers that featured Trump, one of them was The Meltdown, and then it said President-elect Trump, and then it was Person of the Year. So it's really interesting seeing how they did that. And then did you guys notice that the M is kind of over his head? And people were saying that it's devil horns. I think it was just the placement of, it was just the way that the picture was, but people were looking.
People were reading into things.
Into it. But also with Person of the Year, it's more for the impact that they have. For someone that can tweet about Boeing and then have their stock drop a certain amount, like certain percentage points, that just shows how much of an impact he really does have. No, and also with Carrier and like saving the jobs too and everything, he actually did attack their CEO, and he's actually getting hate messages now and hate mail from people in his company. So someone that has that impact just to make a tweet and whatnot, like that's pretty significant and shouldn't be overlooked.
No, absolutely. He's such a powerful character in American politics right now. We might not have thought he would be in American politics right now, but for positive and negative, just like the Times stated in choosing their Person of the Year, his both positive and negative, statements and actions have really influenced the entire country this year.
Did you guys see the list of who were the runner-ups? Hillary Clinton, Hillary. Simone Biles, the
Right.
Olympic
Biles,
gymnast,
Yeah.
and then also Beyonce. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see who were the ones that they were also thinking about.
3 women.
Those are great runner-ups, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if any of them could have been Person of the Year based on their achievements this year.
So congratulations to Trump, but moving on to nationwide devastating news. A devastating loss hit the Bay Area over the weekend. 36 people were reported dead after a warehouse fire broke out in Oakland. The Ghost Ship warehouse went aflame late Friday night during an electrical dance party. The roof collapsed and killed attendees as young as teenagers. Officials have stated that they have not yet discovered the source of the fire, but a refrigerator and other electrical items are being inspected. There was no official permit to host the party, but there have been previous complaints against the warehouse for hazardous trash. The Ghost Ship warehouse functioned as an illegal living space for artists. It was a community house for people to work in a creative setting, said one resident. But firefighters report that there was no indoor sprinkler or alarm system. The landlord had issued the space as an art studio, but not for residency, while the warehouse manager said he made unpermitted electrical repairs to the building because the landlord had refused. Among the many factors that are still in question for the cause of the fire, city officials are also in question regarding how a non-permitted dwelling space lasted so long. Investigations looking into code inspectors are still ongoing. So you guys, what do you think this means for the city of Oakland now?
Well, one thing that I noticed was really interesting when I was researching this topic was the landlord, I believe his name is Ion, it's how you pronounce it. He posted immediately the next day after hearing the news, after knowing that these lives were lost in his property. And the post was later deleted off of his Facebook after his comments attacked him, but he basically stated, in other words, that he was depressed that his prized possession was destroyed, basically meaning the property. And everyone, of course, was attacking him, saying, you had 30 years of not repairing these things, these illegal activities, and even though there were no sources, they're still investigating what exactly led to the fire. Firefighters had released information saying that the litter and like the clutter everywhere contributed to the fires. And there were hard exits because it's like a maze to get in and out. And of course, the no sprinkler system, that's such a hazard.
I think that also the whole no sprinklers has a lot to do with the fact that an investigation was done previously. So an inspector went to the property, but he never went inside. He never actually inspected.
They wouldn't allow him.
Yeah, so I think that
He had no access.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Almena, I think that's the man. Was that the manager's name of the house of the Ghost Ship? People had observed him making repairs himself, so without a permit or anything too. Also, a tenant named Jay Marsh, he started when he was really excited to be a tenant there at first, but then he quickly realized that he needed to start sleeping with a fire extinguisher by his side. And he also observed people under the influence of methamphetamine also making repairs too. So there's a lot of controversial things going on here. I mean, my condolences go out to the family, but people need to be held accountable for this, whether it's the landlord, the manager, or the person that threw the party, whoever that was too.
Absolutely. There are so many people in question. We don't know who is responsible for this. And the district attorney of Alameda County has announced that she will be doing an investigation. And the New York Times actually is taking kind of an unprecedented look at this, sending investigative reporters in, a team, to Oakland to do some investigating themselves and see what they can dig up. We need to find out who is responsible for this. I mean, there's so many people in question, but we lost such wonderful, 36 people have died. 36 artists have died.
I have a friend in my fraternity who actually knew one of the girls that died in the warehouse fire. And also, but I mean, we need to look at Almena in his past. He's had Child Protective Services called onto called onto his family, and they briefly took away their child. And also, the children would be able to run around freely in the warehouse when there were rusty nails just hanging out of everywhere and whatnot too. So it really calls into question their judgment, because if they're getting this called onto them, like, why were they the ones that were allowed to have this warehouse?
Also, what about the bigger issue at hand where these artists, a lot of them maybe don't know necessarily right off the bat that it's illegal at first, but they do realize it. Like a girl, for instance, who was living there, she said she didn't realize it was illegal until a year after living there, but even when she knew, she continued to live there because rent was only $700 a month. Rent is expensive in Oakland. These artists, this is their craft. They're not making a lot of money out of this. So
that being said, do you guys think that now the city's going to look into maybe shutting down a lot of other warehouses. Like I read about one called the Death Trap. And
No, that just sounds terrible as it is.
So I think they're going to
Oh, yeah.
probably
I think so,
I think
too.
this puts all other similar warehouses on the radar. And I mean, it's unfortunate because these artists can't find affordable places to live, but it's not safe.
That being said, we send our condolences to all of the family members that lost a family member during this fire. Now let's take a look at another topic that is also very trendy here, which is the update on the Dakota Access Pipeline. After months of turbulent protests and overwhelming support, roars of joy broke through in North Dakota. The Standing Rock Sioux tribe scored a major victory after the Department of the Army Corps announced it would not allow the pipeline to travel along the Missouri River.
Well, as a Native American, this decision is really relieving, not just as a Native American, but just as a person who I'm tired of hearing how much people are getting away with just being violent towards each other.
The crude oil pipeline was 95% finished, but fears of it potentially contaminating thousands residing down the river prevented its completion.
Too much of a risk to the drinking water, to the thousands of people of the Standing Rock Sioux Nation. Too much of a risk for the sacred sites all along that route in this area. And too much of a risk for us as a planet.
Blessing to the Standing Rock Sioux.
What we see has never been seen before in the written history of our people. We have never known a time when non-Native American allies from around the country, around the world, have come here in the dead of winter to stand with us, to stand together, to call for a new day.
The energy companies vested in this project consider this a political action by the Obama administration. They will continue to pursue this project.
President-elect Trump could override what just happened today on January 20th and grant that easement. Then we're in for a world of hurt. Nothing has changed for us.
So what do you guys think that is going to happen now? Now that these energy companies are saying that they're going to still go ahead and go with the project, regardless whether if the Army Corps or whoever says that they can.
I think if anything, this just shows the power of the people and how united people can become when they're passionate about a certain issue. And so I have no doubt that there'll be even more protesters and even more actions against it.
But then don't you think that there might be a little bit more force then, especially once Donald Trump comes into office? Because President Obama was a huge factor in the
Bernie Sanders as well.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, but bringing attention to this and also preventing the Dakota Access Pipeline from going through. So, what do you think about possibly Donald Trump and his power too?
Absolutely. I feel like, yes, I agree with Michelle that if these energy companies decide to go through it, you'll see protests again and you'll see more protesters, but I'm sure that there's going to be a lot more force used under a Trump administration.
Especially
against
him against wanting media outlets there and whatnot. He might have a lot more control of that, so it might not get as much.
Already here under the Obama presidency, force was used against the protesters and the media was, called into question and arrested. I can't imagine what it's going to look like once Trump takes over.
Yeah.
Do we know Trump's personal stance on this issue?
Well,
I mean,
not really.
Not necessarily. He's always been a wild card. But, I mean, it'll be really interesting, of course. But moving on to Cal State Fullerton news, CSUF alumnus Jeffrey Van Hart donated a $1.5 million investment center titled Titan Capital Management. The center functions as a classroom, business investment group, meeting center, and conference room. Located in Mahalo College, it is also the home to the Applied Securities Analysis program on campus. We thank Mr. Hart for his philanthropic work enhancing the Titan experience.
3 students from the College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics won awards for their student research. Kyle Gunther, Nuvu, and Nathan Johnson were recognized for their outstanding research presentation at the National Diversity in STEM Conference. Gunther, a biological science major, won for his research on fennel, a non-native plant from the Mediterranean that is detrimental to California's native plants. Vu, a biochemistry major, won for her research on aerosol products and how it affects the atmosphere. And Johnson, a graduate student in applied mathematics, won for his research on a math model to describe and predict political conflict within a country. Congratulations to these 3 Cal State Fullerton students. In other Cal State Fullerton news, CSUF alumni were recognized at the 12th Annual Leadership Forum. Let's take a look.
Just a quick synopsis of how I became a firefighter. When I graduated from high school, I went right into sports at Orange Coast College and played volleyball there. And then from there, I ended up finishing and going to Cal State Fullerton, so I am a Titan. So back home, yes. I went to a fire station and I asked them about their calls and what kind of calls did they go on for the elderly. And while I was there, I pretty much fell in love with the fire department. And I was one of 2 women that went through the program at the time, and I think I was the only woman that actually finished that program. A female firefighter. The reason why I got the fire department to find myself a hot fireman, and he's sitting right there. So that's my husband.
And it resonates with me. And he said, "The future does not belong to the faint or lighthearted. The future belongs to those who have courage." So today, men and women, let's be people of courage. Don't ask how far to jump. Ask, is this far enough?
Had a hard time coming out from their comfort zones and engaging people in a place that they could feel welcomed. The philosophy that I steal from a little-known Will Ferrell movie is everybody love everybody.
Well, that's our last episode. It was been a pleasure anchoring with you guys. I'm really excited though to go home and see my family and my dog primarily. So
Yeah.
Your dog.
I'm really gonna miss working with you guys. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
I think we got along so well, and I think that made the show pretty dynamic. I'm going to be in the Dominican Republic, so I'm very excited about that. Like you guys know, my family lives there.
You're going to get so tan.
Yeah, I'm going to come
Jealous.
back, and I might look very different, I must say. But yeah, no, I'm going to be doing that, and then I think looking forward to next semester. It's going to be most of our last semester, except for you, Michelle,
Except for me,
right?
still here.
So
Woohoo!
I think next semester is the one that we need to crank it up and like start really looking for that job.
No, I'm never going to graduate. I'm just going to stay here.
Well, he will be here for life.
You're gonna have to dial it down.
Report anchor for life. No, absolutely. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. I've loved anchoring with you guys, and all of our discussions have been really, really fun and enjoyable. And I will be enjoying my winter break with my family and then preparing for next semester. Obviously, it's the last one. So I'm really excited to graduate next semester, and I'll be interning with NBC4.
Ooh, congrats.
Let's go, Nick.
So it's been great. Thank you guys so much.
Remember us when you're famous.
Seriously.
And I mean, that's all the time we have for our final episode. Good luck to everyone on their finals, and hope you have a great holiday break. So, for the last time this semester, this has been The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and info. For the last time, I'm Michelle Gao.
And I'm Shayra Arias.
I'm Nicholas Garcia.
And I'm Evan Boydston. Stay fresh, Fullerton.